Friday morning, can't control it. Fired up and counting every minute. Hands are shaking, eyes are burning. The time has come, yeah, this is not a warning. The week was just so long, we had to let it go. Our problems disappeared, we're not tied up anymore. The weekend is here. Sunday calls, we are sick and tired. Up and down, can you feel it?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Kate Johansson Show. I'm joined by the Bull, Robin Lakeem. Robin, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. It's the first time I'm doing this, so
No pressure. Nah, excited, like, from what you've done for your career, like, travelling all across Europe and currently been doing a lot of work in Canada. It'll be really good to start spotlighting those different scenes and your body of work. I know we've spoken off camera about people that tend to work like all-star don't get the recognition they deserve, and just shine the light on the body of work because you've done so much throughout your career.
yeah, I've started in '99 on the Belgian carnival scene and the fairgrounds and everything, and then I basically fanned out to northern France, Holland, Germany, all that thing, and that's slowly grew and grew. I've had definitely over 2,000 matches.
Wow.
in that time. I know that Cage Match is one of these sites that keeps track of people's matches,
Yeah.
but they don't have all the info. So up there, I have less than 500 for some reason. So, but
Yeah.
it's because they don't know about the holiday camps. They don't know about the time in France where I was working for a company that's massive on kayfabe, where you can't put anything on social media and everything. But I was working there for 3 years straight on, and it was just amazing, you know.
Yeah, definitely. What company was that in France?
That was Wrestling Stars. It used to be known as Eurostars. They used to be on Eurosport in '93.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Lion Kid for Wrestle Carnival for their YouTube channel, and he was speaking about his time out there. And again, Cage Match wouldn't have all of that information. Like, what was that like for you? Because it was such a huge company.
It was fun. It was really fun. A lot of travel because you crisscross France. One day you could be in the north, the next day you could be in the south.
Yeah.
They had this very old school way of doing, like, okay, when you were being set up in the hotel, for some reason we always drove back to Paris. It's like they didn't realize there were hotels down in the south or up in the north and everything.
Yeah. It
we told the promoter, like, look, you can save so much on travel and everything, just put us in a hotel there and everything. And it finally worked out. But it was, the matches were hard because it was a serious style.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you didn't go in like pussyfooting with each other. When you got hit, you got hit. In the beginning, the rings were stiff, really stiff. But then again, we had guys like Tom LaRufa, who was in NXT for a while. He then talked to the promoter and got him to buy some American rings, which made the work easier. Yeah. It was a fun time because we really got treated really well. Like when you go on the holiday camps in the UK, you build up the ring with the rest of the team. Yeah. In France, you were treated like a star. You did not touch the ring. You walked in the door and you were immediately profiled as a star. The people in the hall there knew, like, oh, those are the wrestlers. You know, just treat them with respect. We got fed after the shows. It was like buffets and everything. We always got put up in a hotel. Transport got paid. We got paid really well in those 3 years. I made really good money. And the thing is also, it was a lot of kayfabe.
Yeah.
So let's say you and I are wrestling on that team against each other. We're not even allowed to have each other on Facebook as contacts or as friends. It was a big no-no. Yeah. So that's how hard the kayfabe went. But it worked. You know, it's when somebody was masked, that person put on his mask 2-3 streets before he got into the venue. And the same thing when he was eating and everything, he had to like lift it up and shovel his food in and all that. It was real, and I loved it. That's my kind of thing, and it worked because the smallest crowd was like 400 people.
Wow, what year was that?
Sorry,
what year was you working there?
2008 until 2011.
Wow. Like, whatever happened to the company?
It's still running. Still running.
Is it still
Oh,
running
yeah.
similar standards as well? With the case?
Yes. Yeah. Of course, now with the COVID, everything went down, of course.
Yeah.
But before that, I was this close to getting back in. And when COVID happened, I was like, damn. Yeah, if I can get back in that company, yeah, that's all I need to do because I'll be making good money again.
Yeah, definitely. And you speak about like smallest crowds being 400, 500 people, and the way you spoke about it was literally as if you were. It sounds like professional wrestling. It sounds like what wrestling should be, and the fact that they're still running, but not many people know about it. And I think that is because it's kayfabe, because it's not plastered all over social media and things like that.
Exactly. The thing in France is it's such a big country. The towns we used to go to, there was usually not much going on in those towns during the year. So when the wrestling came in, that was like a big thing, and everybody just went there. I remember we were near Grenoble in the French Alps, and we drive and we see the venue, and there's just one sports hall surrounded by mountains and not a house for miles inside.
Wow.
And we're like, oh, this is going to suck tonight. Nobody's going to come here. So we drove to the town, which was like, I think 10 miles from there.
Yeah.
And this little tiny article in the newspaper, like 2 lines in the newspaper, oh, these wrestlers will be here today. So we were like, oh, this is going to be crap. No posters, nothing. So we go to the arena, we get ready, and all of a sudden we hear all this noise. The place was packed with 850 people. Where did they all come from? We didn't know anything, but they managed to fill their halls every single time. It was incredible. The biggest crowd I'd done there was around 4,000 people. That was on the same time that WWE was running in France.
Yeah.
And we almost doing the same arenas as them, and we outdrew them at one point.
That's amazing.
It was really a cool thing. Like we're a bunch of, because I still consider myself as basically a nobody when it comes to wrestling, but it was like, yeah, we outdrew WWE. This is cool. So,
that's amazing. That. So how did you get started in Belgium to begin with? Then, what was the scene like back in '99?
It was dying. It was dying. Belgium and northern France used to have a really rich wrestling history, like in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But they started to do the mistake of always putting on the same matches with the same guys and the same results, and the people start to see through it, just like we now see through the kayfabe and everything. People then start to pick up like, yeah, but they did the same match last week, and they're doing it again this time. And so it really, it killed the business, basically. So there was a little group still running the fairgrounds and the carnivals. And I got into that because of a special documentary I saw on a local TV station in Belgium. So I contacted the TV station. I said, can you put me in touch with the wrestler? Because I want to become a wrestler. And they're like, all right, this is his number. So I called the guy. He had his own pub. So I got there, and he was like, all right, I'll see what it is. We'll bring you to the training, and we'll see what we can do. And there was another young guy, and we kind of learned how to run the ropes and do the bumps and everything. And then we're like, all right, put a headlock on. So I put a headlock on, thinking that's how the WWF guys used to do it. And they were like, all right, looks all right. Give each other a body slam. All right, give each other a body slam. We knew now how to bump because they taught us how to bump for a few weeks. We were like, all right, looks good. Okay, what are you guys doing early May? Well, nothing really. All right, you're booked on a show. Like, what? So the guy had a little hall behind his pub. Well, little. It fit like 600-700 people, I think. And he was doing an annual show there just to get money in for his bar and everything. And he got like a full house. So that was our first. And we were like, oh, cool, we got our first wrestling match, and we got a decent match. I remember not being nervous. Like the other guy, he was just, he had butterflies and everything. Yeah. I was quite calm, and that was surprising. It felt like this is what I want to do. I'm here now, you know. So we have the match, and then when we come backstage, the promoter comes up to us and he goes like, "Good match for a first time, you know. What are you doing next week?" Well, nothing. Okay, well you're booked on over there, so make sure you get there. Okay, yeah, we'll be there. And then he gave us like the equivalent now of £25.
Yeah.
And we're like, "What's this?" He goes like, "Well, you're a wrestler now. You get paid for this." And I'm like, we get paid to do this? This is cool. And he goes like, "But because you were an extra match, this is only half of what you're supposed to get." I'm like, "I'm going to get £50 next week." He goes like, "Yeah." And when you do 2 matches, like when you do a singles and a 6-man at the end or an 8-man, you got 75. And I'm like, this is for what this is for my hobby, for what I love to do. I just realized, all right, I can make a career out of this if I want to. So that was really cool. You know, it's like me and the other guy, we looked at each other and was like, we get paid to do what we love. This is cool. We never expected this. You know, we always thought that the money was in the States. You know, when you get to WWE, you get paid. But not even on the little circus like that, we got paid and we were happy. And every week we wrestled.
Amazing. When did you first leave Belgium then to go wrestle somewhere else?
That was with the same group. They also had contacts in northern France.
Yeah.
That was like, the first time international. But for me, it was like, it's still with the same guys. It doesn't really feel international.
Yeah.
Belgium and northern France, it's almost the same. It's like England and Wales. You know, it's just that. And it didn't feel international. And then out of the blue, I got a phone call from Bernard Van Dam, who was a Belgian wrestler who made his career in France with Wrestling Stars. And he said they needed 2 guys in Germany. And he was in touch with Michael Kovac, who's an Austrian wrestler. And he got me in touch with him, and he was like, "All right, if Bernard speaks highly of you, we'll bring you guys in." He wasn't a promoter, but he put in a word with the promoter then. We arranged the price with the transport and everything. We went up there, had our match. Kovac was there. Bambi Killer was there. Who else was there? Promoters from Holland, from SCW, Bas and Mats van Kunder. And that's how I got connected with them. So Kovac said we had a good match. Bas van Kunder liked my style. So they started bringing me in. So it just evolved from there. And like I said, mouth-to-mouth advertisement and everything, and word-to-mouth or whatever they call it. That's how we just started rolling. And then I started wrestling for FCW in Holland, where I had a lot of fun. Then had some one-offs in WXW in Germany a few times. Then some other little companies in Germany started picking up championship wins and everything. And it was pretty cool. I had fun.
What was the difference in terms of the style or the crowds from when you'd be? Obviously, you said Northern France and Belgium was very similar, but when you're working in the Netherlands or if you're working in Germany, what was the difference for yourself? Because again, you're still so early in your career. What, 3 years in, 2 years in?
That was like a year in basically. The crowds on the carnivals were very family oriented because you have all the stuff going on and very old school and everything, and the kayfabe. Then back in Holland, it was more Americanized. ECW was still in everybody's minds and everything. So some of those matches were in there. WXW was really at the start of their stuff, which was very hardcore and everything because it was run by a guy called Hate.
Yeah.
Before the guys now took over. So the crowds was the first experience also with the smart marks because it was the start of the internet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was weirder because I was used to getting a reaction by working the crowds, and then these crowds were like just basically like, "Oh, he looks like crap," and "Well, he looks the part, but he's shit," and then "Oh, that wasn't well done," and I'm like, "What do you guys know? You've never been in a ring."
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it was the first time that I got introduced to the smart marks, and that was in Germany basically. Yeah, you're freezing.
You mentioned picking up titles and FCW. Am I okay? Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned picking up titles and FCW. You ended up winning the European title. Was that your first title win?
Yeah, that was the first time. European
Yeah.
Championship, and then later on I got the heavyweight championship. Yeah, it was cool for a Belgian to be in another country winning a title.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like Africa belt, but it was fun, you know. It was early in my career, I was just having fun doing what I love. You know, I've always been obsessed with wrestling, and yeah, it was just good times, really good times. Not thinking about any politics or anything, and just get your bookings in, do your match, have fun, you know, mess about with the guys in the back and everything, just having a good time.
You've won belts all across Europe. What's your stance on title belts? Like, do you see them as a prop? Do you take it as an honor that a company's putting it on you? What's your stance?
I take it as an honor. It for me, and that's the way I used to book when I was in Belgium and in France. If a promoter puts a belt on you, he expects that you draw for that company, basically. It's not like that anymore, not so much anymore in the WWE, because now just the name wrestling draws. But yeah, it's like, how to say, it's like the promoter respects you. If it's an old school promoter, he respects you and he trusts you. These days, there's too many promoters that go like, "Oh, he's my favorite wrestler. I'm going to put the belt on him." And a lot of those guys then go like, "Oh, it's this little company. He pays me. I got the belt," and they're not happy about it. I'm somebody who every time I got a belt, I want to do more with that belt. Like the first I became the FCW heavyweight champion. I'm the first guy who actually made it international because it was just in Holland. But I took it to Germany, I took it to Belgium, I took it to France. So I made an international belt basically.
Yeah.
And I could do the same with every other belt I had, like FWF in Belgium, then the Flemish Wrestling Force. I did the same with that belt. I did the same with the belt in France with ECTA. I did the same with the European title from WAW. I took them to other countries and made them a bit different. You know, for me, it's not a prop. It's something we can work with. The younger fans look up to it. If you have a belt, and even some of the dads come up to us and, "Oh, can we take a picture with the belt?" And everything. So you know that the fans see it as something special. So us wrestlers should treat it with respect, basically.
100%. What were some of your favourite memories, especially in the Netherlands then in those early couple of years?
Just the camaraderie between all the guys. Me as the only Belgian there, I really fit in with the Dutch guys and some of the German. We just had fun times. We were sometimes wrestling like 2 or 3 day stuff on some campings or some American car shows and everything. And it seemed like we all had the same hobbies. Like we all loved American cars, or we all loved Harleys and that kind of stuff. And just hanging out with each other and just having good times. And for that time, being a year or two in the company, having decent matches where people reacted positively to. So that's just good times.
Definitely. Who's some of your favourite opponents back then?
Well, Bas and Mott van Kunder, the two brothers, they were special. I tagged with a friend called Steve Torres. He was huge. If he didn't had he took a bad bump from a guy in Italy, and that kind of messed up his career and his body, but he could have been big. I loved wrestling against him and with him. He was just the sweetest guy. Who else was there back in the day? Remember Sitochi was there. He started up. A lot of those guys, they no longer wrestle anymore. Aleister Black got started there.
Yeah.
That's Tommy. I wrestled him a few times. A lot of those guys are not there anymore. The guy who got me in there was Mad Cow. He was very Sabu-like. Never, very nice guy. Never got really properly trained, but he got over big time with the fans and everything. He was like he had his little cult following, but because he never got properly trained, his bumps weren't so good, and he really messed up his body. So he didn't last too long, but he said he had fun, and yeah, it's time to move on.
When did you start booking then? You mentioned booking in France and booking in Belgium. What companies was those with, and how did you find that experience going from just being a wrestler to the guy now booking the shows?
The one started in Belgium for Flemish Wrestling Force. It was when FCW in Holland closed its doors.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long story because it has to do with the late Salvatore Bellomo and everything, and our love-hate relationship with each other. We knew each other from back in Holland. He got booked there. He was a champion there for a while, and I was there and everything. So FCW closed its doors, and I'm like, what to do now? Where can I get into? So then all of a sudden I got an email from him, like, check out my school in Belgium. I'm like, oh, cool, wrestling school in Belgium. I mean, if it's not bookings, at least I can stay in shape, get in the ring, work out with the other guys, try new stuff. I always try to get better. So I contacted him, and he was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want you to come. I'm like, you sent me the email about your new school, and you don't want me to come. Oh, yeah, we have problems. I don't like you. I'm like, well, what's going on here? We never had a problem. I remember he did a show in Belgium once. It didn't draw well, and he asked me what my fee was. So I told him, I said, normally my fee is X amount, but since it's for you, Sal, and we got along in Holland and everything, I'll do it for half because it's in Belgium. It's not far from me. It's a 5-minute drive, and I'm there, and this and that. He's like, okay, cool. So when he paid me that day, he was like, you never should have charged me anything. I'm like, what do you mean? If you wouldn't have charged me anything, I would have paid you full price. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't know my price, and you asked me how much I would charge, and I took half off. Where's the logic in this? So from that, he had kept that in the back of his mind, and for some reason, he decided he doesn't like me. So I just called him up. I said, Sal, I said, what's the issue? He's like, oh, and he told me the whole thing about the money and everything. I said, look, okay, look at it as a mistake from my part. Then I said, I'm still young in the business. I'm trying to learn. If this was a mistake of mine, I'm sorry. I apologize. Can we get over it? He's like, okay, come to my school then on next Saturday. All right. So I drove up there, met some of the guys. Sal wasn't there. I was just sitting there. An hour late, he walks in. It's like, Sal, how you doing? Okay. He goes, all right, let's talk outside. So he let the guys do some warm up. He goes like, you're here now. You're here to train, but don't take my school. I'm like, that's not my plan. I don't know anything. I was like, I think 4 years or 3 years in the business, 4 years, something like that. And I'm like, it's not my plan, Sal. I just want to stay in shape so I can, if I can get bookings, I can, my body stays loose and everything. He goes, oh, okay. Let's go in. So we did an hour or two training, locked up with some of the guys, this and that. So the next week, I'm like, can I come back? He's like, yeah. Come back. It's fine. So I went back the next week. No Sal Bellomo. I'm like, what's going on? So then the boys who were there, they were like, this is normal. He sometimes just doesn't show up. I'm like, what do you mean he doesn't show up? Who trains you then? They're like, well, we try out stuff in the ring ourselves. But that's dangerous. Like they were trying power bombs and razors and all that stuff. And I'm like, have you guys done any headlocks, wrist locks, go behinds, all that stuff, takedowns? They're like, no, none of that and everything. You've never been told that. I'm like, well, do you want me to show you some stuff? Because I knew a little bit, I saw some stuff from Germany and everything, and I studied my wrestling like with tapes and everything. So that day I did the training for them, and they enjoyed it. They were like, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll see you all next week then again. So the week after I came back, again, no Sal Bellomo there. He walked in an hour or two later saying that he was coming. He didn't want to come and train today, and he drove back. Now, he had to drive 2 hours from where he was living to come and tell them that he wasn't going to train them, and then he went back. So I'm like, is this normal? And the guys were like, yeah, this is normal. Yeah, it's what happens. And I'm like, well, this isn't right. You know, he gives me a hard time about doing that, and then he doesn't show up. So when he saw me in the ring locking up with some guys, he's like, I told you not to take over my school. I'm like, in front of all the guys. I said, Sal, they're doing dangerous stuff. They're going to get hurt if nobody tells them what's wrong or what's right. I said, no disrespect to you, but I wanted to make sure nobody got hurt. And then he said the words, I don't care about them. I don't give a shit about this. This is my school. So I'm like, you don't give a shit if any of these boys get hurt in front of all these boys. I said, all right, fine. I said, it's your school. I'm like, I'm going to step back. Do your thing. So he then left. I'm like, so what are we going to do? So then the owner basically made the decision, okay, we're not going to have Sal anymore. You're going to be our trainer. I'm like, all right then. So every week, it kind of helped me because every week I had to come up with stuff to teach them.
Yeah.
I had to make sure that I knew it first. So I had to train myself mentally during the week and then show them the stuff. And there was one guy called Homeless Tom, and he was really good. He was into Ring of Honor and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I looked at him as like my competition, as knowledge and everything. So I was like, okay, I got to be better than him. So it kind of pushed me better to stay the trainer, basically. Not that he wanted to be the trainer, but I wanted to stay the trainer at that point. And then they were doing little shows, this and that. So the owner, which is Rob Raw, he comes up to me, goes like, I need some ideas for matches. What do you think of this? I'm like, yeah, that's good, yeah. Where should I put this match, and who should I put against that? I said, what do you want to get out of that match or that storyline or whatever? He was like, oh, I want to push him for that, and then I want to go with him in that direction. And I said, all right, you do this then, and then put that there, and put him with him, and then they can lead into that. So he's like, well, why don't you become the booker then? And I'm like, really? I'm like, what do I? That's always my reaction with everything. What do I know? But he was like, well, you seem to know what you're doing. You've been doing it the longest. You know, it's just book our shows then. And that's what I started doing then. So to help the students, I brought in guys like Aleister Black, Tommy End back then, experience. I brought them in to go up against the students. I never brought in guys to put up against me. I was happy with just one of the students or anyone. But I always brought in other guys so the students could learn from. And if it was somebody like Tommy End or something, I brought them also in for like a seminar for a weekend or something. So they could see different tactics and everything, and then different ways of going into stuff. Because I've always been told there's no wrong way of showing stuff as long as nobody gets hurt. You know, it's like the perfect example, Ted DiBiase, when he does a snapmare, he brings his right knee up, but he puts it to the side, so your head can still pass. Yeah. While everybody's always been told to put your right knee down. So it's just, as long as nobody gets hurt, there's no right or wrong way of doing stuff. There's a different way. Yeah. European uppercuts. I can show you 3 ways of doing European uppercuts. Let's say Aleister Black shows you a 4th way. You as a student, you pick which way works for you. Yeah. And if that makes stand out, if that makes your European uppercut stand out compared to the others, you look different. And, you know, so that was my philosophy of training. So that evolved then. FWF basically started growing quite quick. The first year we actually closed off with a 4-figure in the black. Yeah. in the amount. So from a company that had basically nothing, that went around with a hat and a bucket to get some money from the people, we put on proper shows, small crowds, bigger crowds, but we made a profit. That's the word I'm looking for. We made 4-figure profit at the end of the year. So that was cool. All the money went back in the company, get the ring redone and everything, new ring skirts, new canvas, all that stuff. So that was a fun time. And through being the booker and trainer of FWF, I got more contacts like in Italy and Ireland, because I brought in Joey Cabret, and from Ireland, I brought in guys from ICW, from Italy. So we got links everywhere. And then slowly but surely, we started growing. Our name became out there. Then I took some of the students to Germany to get booked over there. I got some booked in France. So I did a lot for the students, you know, and it was a fun time. We all got together really well. And then we got in guys from NOAA. We got Doug Williams in from the UK. So we got basically around, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's a little company in Belgium." Some of us still looked at it like, it's just, you know, Belgium. What is Belgium? You know, it's a tiny country. But we're doing okay. Like at one point, we actually managed to get our results in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Wow.
And it was none of us who was doing it. It was just American students who used to come to all of our shows. And we didn't know that. There were 6 American students who were in Leuven in the university. And they used to come to all our shows, and they contacted Bill Apter and actually put us in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So that was pretty cool for a little Belgian company. You know.
Definitely. When did that come to an end then? Like, when did you leave Flemish?
Well, again, Bernard Van Dam contacted me again for a small TV show in Belgium. There was two Belgian VJs who wanted to do extreme sports every week. So there were two skinny guys, and then they wanted to become real men. That was the thing about the TV show. They played American football. They did some rugby. They did some other stuff. And then one day they wanted to be like the Hulk Hogan, you know. And they did 2 weekends of training with Bernard Van Dam. And then they got put up against me and Steve Torres, my old friend from Holland. And we just kicked the shit out of them. It was kayfabe, you know. Anybody ever got in the ring with me that wasn't a wrestler, I protected the wrestling.
Yeah.
And I went home with them. And those guys afterwards, they were like, "Holy shit, what a beating we just took." And I remember one of his cameramen was like, "How do you feel?" And he had like a black eye and everything. And he's like, "Well," he said, "I remember being knocked out by the clothesline. And then when I woke up, I was hanging upside down, and the guy was laughing before he dropped me." So Bernard was like, "Well, you did well. How about you want to go back to France?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So he got me back a tryout with Wrestling Stars. Flash, the promoter, he liked what he saw. He was like, "All right, when are you free?" I said, "Well, at the moment, I got no bookings for next week and the week after." He was like, "All right, boom." Immediately 10 weeks of bookings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but then I can't do the training for Belgium, and I can't do, you know, the shows in Belgium anymore. So I talked to the guys in Belgium, and they're like, "This is your life. We all have jobs, but for you, this is your life. You're obsessed with wrestling, and this is your chance. Just go." And all of them, the owner, the promoter, all the students, they were like, "We're happy for you. Just go. And when you're in Belgium and you have time, just come and see us if you can." And we basically left like friends, you know, and they were happy for me, you know. And some of them still did some stuff. Like Rob Raw himself went to Japan a couple of times. He went to the States and everything, so he's been doing okay. But he's got a family, and he's a family man.
Yeah.
So okay, when he gets a nice opportunity, he takes it, but it's not his priority. But for me, it was really my priority. You know, it was like getting into England, getting into France. And yeah, once I got into France, and Flash Gordon was happy with my work. I got booked every week. Every week I was there. And you know, it was like sometimes Friday, Saturday, sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You were always doing 2 matches a day. So you had between 4 to 6 matches a week, every single week. So if you count that up over all the years, you get to quite a lot of matches.
When was the last time you worked for Flemish? Did you ever go back?
I did a one-off for them 2010, 2011, I think. Yeah, I think I did a one-off for them because I had a free weekend or something. I don't know why. Or they were running on a day that Flash wasn't running or something. So I went in and did that. The rule with Flash was also, if you work for him in France, he was the one promoter who could say, "If you work for me, you don't work for anyone else." Because you were able to make a living then.
Yeah.
Like you were working for Flash, we had me and Laurie. We both worked for him. We had 2 cars. We had our own place and everything. Everything was paid every month. We had money to go do stuff and everything. So we really got taken care of really well. So the one promoter who always could say, like, if you work for me, don't work for anyone else, that was Flash. And that was in France. So no other French promoter you were working for. If you did some stuff in Belgium, that was fine. Did it in Italy, that was fine, but not in France. France, you were just his guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all respected that. We didn't work for anyone else.
No, it makes sense. But then on the flip side, you've had people here in the UK where, like, they say to the trainees, you're not allowed to work anywhere else or stuff like that, but they're literally getting 1 booking a month and they can't work anywhere.
If you're not allowed to work for anyone else, how can you learn from other people? You know, that's the thing these days. If you really want to get better as a wrestler, you just do what you think is good for you. I know a lot of the wrestling now, and I've talked about this with the Ring of Honor guys back in Canada. Too much wrestling these days is universal. Like when I started up, you had the Japanese style, you had the Mexican style, you had the American style, you had the European style, you had the British style, and everything was different. And you learn from all these different guys. Now everything is too universal.
Yeah.
We used to call it the Ring of Honor style, but now it's basically, just universal wrestling style. Because the Japanese are losing their identity. The Mexicans are starting to lose it. The Americans have done everything is all the same over there, no matter where you go. The only ones that are still different are the Canadians. That's why I loved Canada, because it was the old school way of working. You just tour, you work, you get in the ring, you do your stuff, you know, and everybody was different. And then promoters going like, or trainers going like, oh, you can't work for him. You can't say that to people. You can't. You know, if you don't pay someone a whole wage, then you can't say that.
Exactly. I think, from my knowledge, one of the only companies here in the UK that had given people yearly contracts was NGW through the wrestling agency, because they've got the camps and because they do their live shows. I know a few people where they got a set retainer and they could work other places, but if there was an NGW show, they'd have to do that unless given special permission not to do so. And that's fine, because it wasn't a case of you're not allowed to work there and you've got to hold off bookings in case we run a show. It was, even if we don't run a show, you're still going to be getting paid for that month. And that's okay. But when you get 1 booking a month for 20 quid, you can't be dictating where to go work.
That's the thing. I like what NGW did that way, and I wish more promoters would be like that. The thing is, like with priority with bookings too, my priority these days, once the world opens up, is Canada.
Yeah.
I've the promoter there, Danny Duggan, he told me I got an open invitation there. Anytime there's a tour and I want to go over, I got a spot on the tour. So I don't even have to ask. He said, just show up and you're booked.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's what I tell promoters now. Like, look, there might be a Canadian tour coming up around these dates. If you want to book me, that's fine. But Canada has my priorities, because if I go over there, I got 35 to 40 bookings.
Yeah.
So this is my life. I need bills to pay. 40 bookings to 1 booking. No disrespect, but I'll take the 40 bookings.
Yeah.
You know. Well, so I always tell promoters that.
Yeah, we'll skip forward to Canada then. Like, how did you first, like, when you first got started with Canada, like, what was all that experience like? Because, again, I think the only thing similar to what you've been doing is the All-Star run and Wrestling Stars, and it is very rare to be getting such a run. And when I was doing some of the research, I was like, shit, that's a lot of matches in Canada. So how's that been for you?
Well, in All-Star, we at least had 1 day off every week. We had Mondays off when we were doing the summer camp back in the day. In Canada, you had no days off. You just went. Again, being obsessed with wrestling, it just was like, this is it. This is what I want to do, you know. And I looked at it as like, okay, I'm going over there. I had to fly my own way in, which is always frowned upon by the old guys, but a lot of them did it. They never admitted, but a lot of them did it to get somewhere. So it was an investment. I mean, I invested, let's say, 500 quid, but I came back with 4 grand, you know.
Exactly.
Are you going to go like, no, I'm not flying myself in? I said, home? I don't think so. You know, it's an investment. But yeah, I arrived there. I was in touch with Danny for a few years already and always trying to get in, but he was doing small tours, like 10 days. And I was like, well, I'm going to lose money on that. I can't risk it. You know, like I got bills to pay. I got a family to take care of. I don't want to risk it. And then he did the first one. I think it was, was it 31 days or 33 days? The one with Brutus Beefcake. So it was a big tour. It was like, okay, if I start counting, okay, 33 dates. If I get around this amount of money, then I'll definitely have my plane ticket back and make some money on top of it. So the deal with Danny was also when you go there, you work off the house. It's your job as a wrestler to draw, basically.
Yeah.
Because if it's a shit house, you make shit money. But if it's a good house, you make good money. You know? And it kind of makes you hustle a bit more. Like over here, when a promoter books you, he goes, all right, that's your price, cool. And then he wants you to share the thing on social media, the poster, and you go, whatever. You don't share it because you got your money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But over there, you share it, nobody shows up, you get no money. Which people were more inclined to share all the stuff and get the name of the company out there. And I liked it more. It was more the old school style of stuff, you know, like, all right, let's see what the house is tonight and what can we do and you know, what we're going to make. And sometimes it was like, oh, shit, we got our food paid today, that's fine. And other days we're like, oh, let's get a few drinks in, you know.
Yeah.
And it was the old school way of doing it. You know, you travel, you wrestle, you party, you travel, you wrestle, you party, that kind of stuff. Amazing country to travel through. I did 5 provinces. A lot of mileage. I think it was 10,000 miles round trip.
Wow.
In just over a month. So yeah, it's just Canada felt natural to me. It was like this is what we need to do, and that's kind of what Danny wants. He wants to do it like he does it full time. It's his job wrestling. But he does like two big tours a year, and then he does small ones in between. But he just wants to get it that it's getting like just busy, you know, that everybody can just work and keep working and keep working. That's his main goal about it. And he was on his way to doing it until COVID, of course, hit.
Yeah.
Kind of.
What are the crowds like? Like, how do they receive to wrestling?
A mix of everything. It's family crowds. There's a few smart marks in there, but if you know what you're doing, you can make them shut up real quick. There's hardcore fans in there. There's very old school fans in there who still remember the AWA and Stampede and everything. I remember I busted some guys open, like there was bloodshed and everything, and people were still into it. So the crowds that we saw back on TV, the old NWA crowds, you can basically compare it to that, or the Mid-South crowds, you can compare it to that. People who were into their wrestling, and you could piss them off, or you can make them cheer for you, or whatever. I got actually honored when they started chanting Ivan Koloff at me. It was the look, and I had the chain and everything. I never planned on being an Ivan Koloff copy. But the fans afterwards said, like, the way I was working and the way I was pissing them off and everything, they started chanting Ivan Koloff. So like, I took it as a badge of honor. Like, all right, cool, this is fun, you know. And
there's worse people from to call you.
Exactly, yeah. It also made me change my style a lot because over here in the UK, I'm one of the heavyweights and one of the bigger guys. But over there, I was one of the smaller guys, so I had to work completely different again. So I had to readjust my style. I had to work smarter, and it's a believable style over there. It's also a hard working style. You know, there's no pussies on the team or whatever. So yeah, I'd love it in Canada. For me, it's the way wrestling is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, just have good matches, make the crowd, let them make as much noise as possible, let them go home and with a great feeling and everything, and then off to the next town and do it all over again.
what's it been like working with Danny a lot then? Because I know you've been in the ring quite a lot with him during these tours.
Yeah, I think on the first tour we had like 15 matches against each other or something. It was cool. It was hard work because he's a heavy set guy and he's very thickly built. So it was harder to maneuver him around or get him in certain holds and everything. Plus, he had some injuries. I had some injuries. As professionals, you take care of each other that way. So of course, you want everybody to make money every day. We were still hitting each other hard. We were still, putting the holds on nice and snug and everything. We were just slamming each other and everything. Like for 30 to 35 days in a row, I took the big flare bump off the top rope and all that stuff. So it was also a learning experience because he's also still wrestling the old school way, the old WWF way, NWA way. It just clicked. We had good chemistry. We can just now, anywhere they book us, we can go, all right, let's get in the ring, let's get it done. So that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
There were some good guys on the tour, like we had the Kingdom from Matt Taven, Vincent, and TKO Ryan. Good guys to travel with, fun guys, good guys in the ring. They were really, really. My best match I had was against TKO Ryan.
Yeah.
In Kirkland Lake. That was just everything just clicked that night. We were supposed to do 12 minutes. We went 20 something. It was like, it's a bit low, but fuck it, it was great, that kind of stuff. So when you have guys like Jimmy Jacobs coming up to you going like, you guys went long, but it was a good match, so it's all right, then you've done something right,
Yeah.
So it's just, I love it in Canada. I just love it.
Yeah. They do get so many people, like from what I'd been looking at, you mentioned a lot of them in the Kingdom and Jimmy Jacobs, but then even some of like the younger guys coming through, like Shigehiro Iri, like he did some great stuff here in the UK. Psychosis as well, like getting to work him. What's it been like working him?
Oh, great guy. Sometimes when you work against an older guy, that was, he was a star in '99 when I just started. I saw him on WCW TV when he was flying around with Rey Mysterio. So I'm like, all right, this is 20 something years later. How's he going to be? And you see him walking around, go like in pain and everything.
Yeah.
I'll have respect for him. I'll take it easy and this and that. But once he gets in the ring, it just bang, and he goes, and he's like all over the place, and he's bumping for you, and he's bumping you and everything. I was like, this guy can still go.
Yeah.
And he still does the high flying stuff and everything. And it was just cool. He also paid me a compliment, saying that I was one of the safest guys to work with. Like I was a good base for him, which was cool because he liked to do the top rope, like with the top rope stuff into the Rana and everything. And he said everything was fine. I was safe with that. I was a good base. So yeah, he's just a great guy. I wrestled him a few times in tags and everything, and it's just he could still go. He's fast. He's also someone that's got your back after the show. I remember being in a bar and some drunk kid started to pick on me, and I was like, just I'm going to have my drinks and my food, just piss off,
Yeah.
This kid started like, come on, man, like little taps like that. And I'm like, I'm going to punch you, but we were in a bar which was a sponsor, so I was like, I can't do anything, I don't want to lose the sponsor. So immediately Psychosis saw he was like, amigo, you okay? Like, fine, thank you. He was like, you sure? Otherwise, we have a little fun, huh? So I knew immediately he's got my back. It was just boom, instantly. And that's a cool thing, because that's another thing you don't have so much in wrestling these days. It's the camaraderie and the brotherhood. And you still have that in Canada, and like I guess in Mexico too, like, because immediately he was there to back me up in case there was a big fight or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid was drunk. He had some friends with him, but they were harmless basically. I just shoved him. I was like, just fuck off, That was the end of it.
It's crazy to think like the stories you're telling now are happening in 2019, and it could easily fit in the 80s or 90s in terms of like the presentation of the company and how the whole feeling is. And Um, what was the stipulation on your European rules match with Johnny Devine?
2 out of 3 falls. 2 out of 3 falls was mainly the thing. So no punches, definitely no punches then. Let me think. Did we do the rounds or not? I can't remember that. I think we didn't do the rounds. We just did the 2 out of 3 falls and everything. But Johnny, he likes the British style or the European style, so he was really up for that. And he actually became, after that match, he became like a friend, because he was only just one day there, and I got to wrestle him, and it was just fun. It was like, it was cool. It was a good little match. The beginning, the people were like, "Oh, what is this?" And and oh, you could, like, towards me, because they respected Johnny, but they were like, "Oh, you suck and you're boring and this." But I was working them. I was working the crowd, and then I was deciding what I was going to do, not the crowd. Yeah. I've always been told that, you as a wrestler decide what they're going to see. They don't decide what they want to see. And at the end of the match, they were like, "Damn, that was a good match." And afterwards, fans came up like, "Oh, well, great job, man. Thanks. That was cool. That was different. That was nice. That's all you need.
Definitely. So hopefully, because I know when I spoke to Laurie, she was hoping that she can go out there as well. So hopefully, once COVID does disappear and things are back running, the pair of you can go out there and work. But to take it back then, when did you first come to England?
2008. It was actually 2 guys, Johnny Kidd, who did a seminar in Holland, and we stayed in touch. And I was doing so well in the seminar, he was using me as his assistant. Yeah, because I was picking up on all the little tweaks and British stuff and everything. And he talked to me afterwards, and I told him how much I wanted to get into England. So he was like, "All right, I'll talk to John Fremantle from Premier Promotions." And I then called John Fremantle, and he was like, "Yeah, Johnny Kidd spoke highly of you. I got X amount of dates in April 2008. Feel free to come over." I'm like, "Cool, I'm there."
Yeah.
And then I spoke with Tony Sinclair in Germany the week before I was supposed to go up, and he was like, I asked him, I said, "Any tip?" Because he was a referee in a German company in Bremen. And I'm like, "Any tips? Because I'm going up for John Fremantle. I've never done British style wrestling."
Yeah.
He goes, and he just looked up from his newspaper, and he was like, "I've seen you work. You'll be all right." And that was it. So my first opponent here was Doug Williams, because I knew Doug from seeing him in Germany, wrestling him in Belgium back then. So that kind of made it easy. Yeah. And then I immediately enjoyed the British style. It was different, but it was also new and fun, and it was exciting, do the rounds and everything. With Fremantle also, everything 2 out of 3 falls. What I respected about that was a DDT or a pile driver was instant knockout. So you and I could be working. You could score a pinfall on me in the second round. But if I hit you with a DDT or a pile driver, that was it. Match was over. I'm the winner. That's the whole thing. So I love that. So while I had my bookings for John, I contacted Brian. And Brian was like, "Oh, I don't bring anyone in. I said, "Brian, I will be in the UK. And I will be in that area." And he was like, "Oh, since you're here, all right, here's an extra 7 dates." So I did 7 dates for Brian then.
Yeah.
And that kind of got my foot in the door with Brian a little bit. And then went back to Europe, started with Flash full-time in France. And then there was a guy called Domino. He's sadly passed away a few years ago. And he was a really good friend. Him and I were like married in France. We wrestled every week, everywhere, all over the place. And in France, the only time you had time off was like 6 to 8 weeks in the summer. That's when they didn't run in France. So he was like, "Want to come on a summer run in England?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, of course." Mikey Whiplash was there too then. And so him and Domino put in a word with Brian Dixon. And they actually told Brian, get the whole package. Get him, get Laurie, who was then my manager.
Yeah.
Get him music and everything. Because Brian, he was like, "Right, here's my CD with the music, and that guy enters with this, that guy with that." And one day you were entering the ring with AC/DC's Thunderstruck. The next day you'd be in the ring with I don't know, some hip hop song or whatever kind of music. That was your music day. But they told him, like, bring the whole package. He's got I had the robe and everything. I was then known as Sir Robin. He changed it to Lord Robin. But I used the song Requiem for a Dream, which is a very dramatic song and everything. And they told him, just use the whole package. Don't just bring him in, but use the whole package. And it got over. And on the Butlins run, I was doing the first match, which was always 3 matches. We had the 2 singles and then the main tag, which was like either 8-man over the top rope, elimination match or whatever. And I was always the first man, the first match where I went over dodgy, and then which set up the main. And then in the main, I was always the last guy eliminated. So I was in the ring every night for almost an hour sometimes. And that was a learning experience. I worked with guys like James Mason, Frankie Sloan, Tony Spitfire, Dean Allmark, Mikey Whiplash, Domino. I've learned so much from all those guys. Chad Collier was over here then. So it was just one massive learning experience. And then I was like, this is wrestling. This is the fun, There's wrestling every day, being in the car, just traveling around, just talking shit in the car, having drinks afterwards. That's the whole thing. It's what they say is true. You learn more in the car than what you do in the ring, basically, because you talk about the stuff and everything. So yeah, it was fun times.
Who was your favorite people to be in the car with then?
Spady and Frankie Sloan, definitely. Tony Spady and Frankie Sloan, mostly because of the music taste. We all have similar music taste, and them two together is just fun. You just let them interact with each other and just enjoy the show. It's just fun. Those 2 guys together is just, oh my god, just laughs all over. It's just, them 2 definitely.
What was your thoughts on the whole hustle with All Star? Because again, we were speaking before, like we even started recording, where All Star used to be the place to be. Like if you was wanting to be a professional wrestler, you'd go to All Star, which is why Jericho, Bryan Danielson. I had Victor on the show from Ascension recently, and he spoke about coming over and that some of the Canadian guys had come over. Not everybody had enjoyed it because it was a lot of work. It was a lot of hustle, and over the times, it's kind of gone away where All Star doesn't get the camp runs don't get the respect they used to. How did you find it?
Like when I went for All Star the first time, it immediately upped my level in other promoters' eyes. In Europe, they were like, "Oh, you went for All Star, he's got to be good." That was basically the main concept there. Because especially if you were able to do a whole tour, they were like, okay, he was able to do that, and he still gets to go back. He must be good. So that was the whole thing. Now these days, like we said before, I think it's jealousy, because All Star was not an easy place to get into. You really had to be on Brian Dixon's ear every single day. Brian, I want to come in. Until he was sick and tired of you calling, and he would go, all right, come in then. That's how you had to go in. And then you really had to fit in with the group. You had to work hard. Like I remember guys coming over from other countries, not helping with the ring, or just being lazy or always tired or not getting up in time. Because with All Star, they were like, all right, 8 o'clock we leave. If you're not in the car by 10 to 8, we're gone. We don't care. We leave you. I've seen it happen. They just have to fuck it. We got to be there. We got stuff to do. We got traffic to fight. We have roads to clear. We have to get to the other show on time. And a lot of guys couldn't handle that. So if you couldn't handle that, you didn't last. And then, of course, when you were one of those guys that couldn't handle that, you start to badmouth All Star. It's like, oh, it's not so good as this and that. No, you made money with All Star, but you worked hard.
Yeah.
But you had experience, and you were doing a full-time job as a wrestler. What more can you ask for? okay, you don't have a mansion or you don't have a big sports car, but if that's what you want, you can only get that when you're in WWE.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always been happy. I got a roof over my head. I can shower every day. I got food every day. I can go to the gym. I got a car. Everything is paid for. I got money on the side. That's all I wanted out of wrestling. You know, just to live comfortably, doing what I love. And with All Star and Wrestling Stars in France, that was possible. And if then people still badmouth it, it's jealousy. It means you just can't fit in that group. Either you're not good enough, or you don't have the mentality to do it right.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be mentally tough. I mean, it puts a strain on you. Like if you do it day in, day out, for weeks and sometimes months on end, it's hard for you, and not everybody can do it. You know, you can't just go like, okay, I'm wrestling 4 times a week, 4 times a month. I'm a professional wrestler. No, it doesn't work that way. You know, when you do this, when you do the grinding and the working and putting the rings up and taking them down every day, night after night, sometimes twice, 3 times a night. I remember on the holiday camps once, I was in the Weymouth area with Klondike Kate's team.
Yeah.
We did 4 shows in one day, 4 different locations. So that's 4 times you put the ring up, take it down, and then wrestle on top of that. By the end of the day, you were dead tired, but you got paid 4 times.
Yeah.
So that was a really good day. It was like, can we do it again next week? You know, that was on the Monday, which was our day off.
Yeah.
So I got 6 dates for Brian, and then that was her shows. So I got paid for 10 shows that week, and we did 10 shows. You know, so if you're willing to work, you know, you're into All Star. But if you came in with the attitude of like, I'm the big superstar, I don't need to do this or need to do that, nah, you're not going to last. And I think that's where the reputation comes from now, that a lot of these indie darlings, that they can do the fancy stuff in the ring a couple of times a month, but they can't do it every single day because their body doesn't hold up for this or that. And that's why they start bad-mouthing All Star. That's just my idea about it. You know, it's jealousy. It's not being able to hack it, not the right mentality, that kind of stuff. I still speak highly of All Star. And I told that to people. You want to become a wrestler? Do the camps. If you can survive the camps, yeah, then
Survive anything.
You can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Who were some of your favorite opponents? Who did you like to work with?
Like I said, I loved working with Dino.
Yeah.
Dino, another one. He's like Danny Duggan. I can get in the ring with Dino 5 minutes before bell time and go, all right, let's get in the ring. Boom, done. You know, that's 20-minute match. Easy. Yeah. James Mason, same thing. He's just a natural. Tony Spitfire, Mikey Whiplash, even though me and Mikey don't get along, I always respect him, and I always had good matches with him. He's somebody, whether he likes you or not, he'll make sure that you look good. He looks good in the process, but he'll make sure he'll put you over the way he's supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, he's professional that way. Some of those guys. Who else? I have to think because I wrestled so many guys. Then in WAW, Roy and Zach, really good in the ring.
Yeah.
A guy called Alex Young, amazing in the ring. Skinny guy, but just amazing. The stuff he could do, and so easy. You know, wrestling him was like a day off.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys in the UK that I learned from and everything, and it's just, had some good matches.
What was your experiences like with WAW? I believe I saw one of your matches. I think it might be in Fatal 4-Way at one of the Epic weekends, the same weekend of the cage match with Roy, Zach, Ricky, and Jimmy. And I think it was you, Cruz, and a couple of others that were in the ring. But what was your experiences like with WAW?
Well, Ricky Knight is another one. He actually, I'm going back for a little bit because me and Brian Dixon had a falling out, and I stopped working for him. And then in end of 2013, I've heard rumors while I was in Belgium. I heard rumors about guys saying stuff about me online and all that stuff. And one of the names that came up was Roy Knight. So I contacted Roy. I said, "Do we have heat?" And he was like, "No, why?" He's like, "Well, I've been picking up a lot of chatter and this and that, and I was at that point I was suffering from depression.
Yeah.
I was this close to, and I called him. I said, "Look," I said, I've heard all this stuff. I'm sick and tired of it, and your name came up." And he goes like, "No," he said, I always liked you. You're cool." I said, "Well, what's going on?" So I explained him the whole situation, and he goes like, "You know what? Contact my dad. He's got a few dates coming up late January." He said, "Get in touch, come over, do your matches, we'll talk then." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I contacted Ricky Knight. He's like, "Yeah, you got 3 dates coming up. Bring your missus, Lori." He said, "And you're booked." And I kind of immediately got accepted by everyone.
Yeah.
Because I did some of the camps before for them, like a year or two before. Like for 1 week, we were in the Norwich run. 1 week, you're in the Weymouth run. We were being placed all over. So he knew me. But then I had changed my look already. I was bald. I had the singlet. I was the Belgian Bull then. And he liked my style. I had a match with Aaron Sharp in Thetford, which went to 20-minute Broadway. And then the next day, I worked in Norwich against someone. I forgot who. And he was like, "I like you. You're part of my roster now." So I started going in and out for them.
Yeah.
And I credit Roy Knight for saving my life, basically, because I didn't know if I would not have made that call, I don't know what I would have done. And I've always told him that. We had a falling out later on, a few years ago with WAW, but I still respect it for what they've done for me and for Lori.
Yeah.
Because like I said, for the time I moved over here, they gave us full-time work. I was working for them every week. We did the camps for them. That was then the Pontins run instead of Butlins. I can honestly say I think I wrestled on every single holiday camp in the UK. So many of them. But yeah, it's again a great group of guys. A hard style of working because they like their stuff to be physical.
Yeah.
Snug, physical. I don't like the word stiff. Stiff is unsafe. Snug is safe. That's the thing. I like snug. So yeah, like I worked hard for them. I did a lot for them too, but they also did a lot for us. So yeah, it was just a great time. Also, very big learning experience.
Yeah. What was it that led to your depression, if you don't mind me asking?
2013. Let me think. What was it? Well, the falling out with Brian Dixon.
Yeah.
Thinking that my wrestling career was over then. I had a bad experience with a phone call with TNA back then, with Terry Taylor, who was just being a dick.
Yeah.
WWE, who basically told me that I was a good worker, good size and this and that, just 2 inches too short, which to me was like, all right, I'm not getting in there then.
Yeah.
Well, it's like nothing worked out. It's like I got stuck and it was done.
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, where's my next paycheck coming from? What's going to happen? And that kind of got to me, and I got into a serious depression.
Yeah.
Lori didn't even know about this until afterwards. After we got into WAW, I then told her everything. I said, "Look, it was her that kept me going, basically."
Yeah.
She was a massive support. Her and basically our 2 cats. Love our 2 cats, and that was the only thing that kept me going. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here anymore. And then, like I said, Roy Knight, he saved my life. He talked to me. He said, "Come over." Talk to my dad, to Ricky Knight, and off we went for another couple of years. Kind of rejuvenated.
Have you spoken to the Knights since you fallen out, or?
No. Well, no. Honestly, little Ricky Knight Jr., he contacted me a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just asking how it was. I heard from him when I had a big car crash in Canada. He just said, "Glad you're okay. Hope all is well." And that was it. But yeah, he contacted me a few weeks ago asking how it was and everything. He must have picked up some stuff I posted or whatever, because I'm as controversial as can be on Facebook with all the stuff and everything. Yeah, we had a little chat. Everything seems to be okay. I haven't spoken to any of the other ones, to Roy or Zach or Ricky or Julia or anyone. If it happens, it happens. If not, it doesn't. We all don't lose any sleep over it, I guess. That's just the way it is sometimes in wrestling. You can see somebody for years and work for them for years and then not talk to them and then go back to them or not. And, it is what it is. We'll see what happens in the future.
Well, speaking of going back to them then, because I know you worked All-Star in 2019. How did that come about then, since you've had that falling out with Brian?
Well, Brian is the kind of guy who, let's say you do something wrong, you get a bollocking, and 10 minutes later it's past.
Yeah.
I just contacted him and said, look, Brian, I said, do we have an issue? Because I'm at this point in my career where I technically don't give a shit. If people don't like, well, fine, you don't like me. I'm not gonna pander to you. So I just picked up the phone and like, Brian, is there an issue? He's like, no, the way Brian talks, why would there be an issue? I'm like, well, I haven't worked for you for a long time, and you seem to ignore me. Well, I got shows coming up, want to be on a summer run? All right, cool. And then Mal Mason, God rest his soul, he was like, I'll have Robin on the team. I'll like Robin and Janine, I'll have him on the team. And off we went for the summer run. It was fun,
Just like that.
Yeah. It's wrestling was funny, you can it just falls out of the sky and all of a sudden you got X amount of bookings and it's a funny business.
Definitely. So what's left for you in wrestling then? I know you mentioned Canada's the priority, but is there anything else that you're wanting to experience, you're wanting to try?
It would be nice to be signed to a company, just to say that I've actually been signed to a company, like on paper. But if that doesn't happen, just go as long as my body holds up. I'm 43 now, and at the moment, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've trimmed down. Well, fat-wise, I've trimmed down. I'm still in the same body weight. I'm about 204 pounds. I've beefed up a bit, but I trimmed down. So I know I can still go in the ring. My body is healthy. I've worked on my old injuries that are actually better now and everything. I got movement in my shoulders again. I just want to keep on going and just make money and have fun. Yeah. That's the most thing now. I don't want to deal with politics backstage and everything. I want to work for people who their main priority is putting up a good wrestling show, and entertain the crowds, and not entertain in a way of like what we see on TV these days, but basically let them go home with a feeling of like, that was cool, and those guys, they really hit each other, that kind of stuff, I like my wrestling to be realistic and make sense. Yeah. And if I can convince some of the dads in there that what I did was real, then I'm happy with that, and win or lose, I don't care, as long as I got paid at the end of the night. I had fun, and hang out with the right mindset of people in the back and everything. That's what I want to do. Just enjoy myself now.
Definitely. But no, Robin, thank you for coming on. Like, it's been great talking and just learning these stories of, obviously, I think you've had the life of a professional wrestler without being signed, and I think it's a hard thing to do, but I think with your runs in France, Canada, England with WAW and All-Star, you've really made that happen, so respect to you for that. And
thank you.
Like, you've had some great times over the years. And who before we wrap up then, who's that one opponent? Like, who's that favorite opponent of yours?
A lot of people ask me that. I can never answer that. If I would get a chance from Japan, I always was a big fan of Satoshi Kojima. Yeah. Because I'm in his style and I think we could have a good match. Another one is Tomohiro Ishii. I think our styles would work. But for the rest, I just, no. Back in the days when he was still alive, Chris Benoit, that would have been the thing that I'm a big Steiner fan. Anything to do with the Steiners, that would have been cool. Even just tagging with him in a 6-man tag or something like that would have been awesome. But yeah, I think that's about it from those guys.
Brilliant.
I just want to have fun these days.
100%.
Try and smarten up the fans in a way of, look, you don't have to be on TV to make a living in this business. That kind of stuff. Because, like you said, I've lived the life of a wrestler for 20 years, basically. Over 10 of that full time, and being unsigned. Not many guys who can say that.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans don't realize that. A lot of fans go, "Oh, what does he know? What has he done?" Because I'm not in New Japan, or I'm not in WWE, or I'm not in AEW or whatever. Doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. That's the concept that fans should be realizing.
100%, and it's why I do this style of interview as well, because don't get me wrong, I enjoy AEW, I enjoy Progress, I enjoy these internet companies, but I like the mixture. I can't, for example, PWG, athletically, amazing, and I've tried sitting and watching their Bowler weekends, but I get exhausted after the first show because it is very bang, 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 bang. I like my difference, and that's why I do these interviews, because again, somebody had maybe look you up on it. Well, it's not worked Progress, or it's not worked Rev Pro, or it's not worked any of these other internet companies yet. We've just had this conversation for over an hour talking about how you've worked over 10 years of your 20-year career full time. And I think that's what people seem to forget, that just because it's not an internet company doesn't mean you're not.
Exactly. It's like I said all the time. This is for the fans out there. Not everything is on Cage Match. They're good guys. They say a lot of stuff, but they don't know everything.
No, brilliant. Well, you mentioned you're controversial on Facebook and social media. Where can people find the controversy?
On Twitter, it's at the Bull Wrestler. On Instagram, it's at BullDriver77. On Facebook, just my name, Robin Lakeem. And then there's a page I have, the Belgian Bull, basically.
Brilliant.
On Facebook, on my personal one, I don't accept everyone. If I don't know you, I probably don't accept you. Fans can go to my Bull page. Everybody can see stuff on there. That's just wrestling-related stuff on there. Instagram, there's a little bit of a mix of both. Twitter, I can be controversial sometimes. Like I said, I'm 43 years old. I don't give a shit if people like me or not. I just want to wrestling, and I speak my mind. If I don't like something, I don't like it. That's just how I am. I don't sugarcoat stuff.
Definitely. And on that note, everybody, make sure you do go follow Robin across social media. I'm sure you will be thoroughly entertained. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Until next time. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Friday morning.